Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, Coloring and Comments, a channel where I color in mandalas and talk to you about various topics that are on my mind. Have you ever had a time, whether in your professional or personal life, where you know that you are at that point in your life or you've reached that point in your life because you've put in the work, you have invested in yourself, you have ensured that you have gained the skills and experience to be at that point in your life. But for some strange reason, you still feel like you don't belong in that space. Like you feel like you're a fraud, like you're a scammer, basically. And that's what has been happening to me lately, especially in my professional life. I'm feeling very scared, very intimidated, very unsure of what I'm capable of. And as each day passes, even though I know I have studied and I have the work experience and I am deserving to be in a certain space, that fear and uncertainty still lingers. And I'm sure it's probably imposter syndrome. And they define imposter syndrome as having doubts in your own abilities and feeling as though you are a fraud in whatever space you find yourself in, because you inherently feel like you do not have the abilities and the skills and the knowledge to occupy that space. And imposter syndrome has this way of negating all your past experiences, all your skills, because it instills this sense of fear, this crippling sense of fear that steals your power. And this fear slowly convinces you that you're inadequate. And then this feeling of inadequacy draws you down into a space of anxiety and depression. And in some ways, it begins to reinforce your own idea or your own notions that you aren't good enough, you can't do what you're doing, and that you are indeed a fraud. And that's why it's important to know whether you are experiencing imposter syndrome, because that's the only time you can stop that downward spiral. Because the more you spiral downwards, or the more you are convinced that you are inadequate, you start to self-sabotage. You start to do things in order to reinforce the idea that you have that you do not belong in the space that you belong, or in the space that you find yourself in. And for the longest time, I used to first think that I'm very confident of what I've achieved. I'm very confident of the space I find myself in, and that I probably really don't suffer from imposter syndrome. I mean, we'd all like to think that, because we are all taught to be confident in our abilities, but it creeps in sometimes. And after I've done some introspection and some reading, I realized there are signs that you can look out for to see if you might be suffering from imposter syndrome. And I've identified 5 signs that really resonate with me, or 5 signs that I have seen myself fall victim to. And if any of these signs talk to you, please leave a comment down in the comment section and tell me your experiences and how it has affected you and how you move through your life. So the first sign is this notion of luck. When you have imposter syndrome, you feel as though everything that you have achieved or whatever space you find yourself in is because you were lucky. That's all. Not because you had the skills, not because you had the capabilities. You were simply lucky. For me, I didn't realize it until recently that that's how I viewed myself. Because I recently got nominated for an award for a poem that I wrote. And when I first saw that I was part of the long list of candidates for the award, I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Maybe there weren't a lot of people that submitted their poems anyway. Fine. Then I was shortlisted for the award. And immediately I was like, okay, I'm probably just lucky because maybe the day the judges read my poem, they were in a good mood and therefore they just chose me. And saying it out loud doesn't make sense, but as you think about it in that moment in time, you reason like that and you believe your own reasoning. And by shifting your achievements from skill to luck, you take away the want to achieve that thing again because you believe that, oh, I can't achieve it. It was pure luck. It was not because I had the capability or the skill or the knowledge. Therefore, it's okay if I fail because, I can't do it, right? The second thing is this idea that, oh, anybody can do it. I'm nothing special. Anybody can do it. An example of this in my life is getting my CFE qualification. So basically a qualification for forensic examiners. And I remember when I first told people I wanted to do the exam, everybody was telling me, oh my gosh, that exam is so hard. So many people have failed it so many times. People have been repeating it for years. We don't advise you to do it. But I was just like, okay, look, I'm a fan of true crime. I love reading and watching the art of scamming. It's weird, I know. So I was like, okay, let me just do this qualification because I'm already interested in the field. I did the qualification. I found it so easy. And then when I passed, I was like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. Anybody could have done that. Anybody could have read those textbooks and passed the first time around. It's really nothing special. So again, immediately negating what I've achieved. Third one is people are just being nice. They say things because they just want to be nice. They don't want to be rude. And I often face this when I'm with clients. I remember one client came to me and said, no wonder your previous manager left you in charge. You really know what you're doing. I couldn't even say thank you because in my mind I was just like, oh, this person is just trying to be nice and they're just saying that because they have to say that. It's weird because no client gets paid to be nice to auditors. But that's the belief that I held. Number 4. It wasn't because of me, it was because of others. But don't get me wrong here, teamwork is important, but it's also important to know how you contributed to the success of a team. So I'm very uncomfortable when anybody gives me a compliment with regards to what I've achieved or with regards to my skill. Because immediately when somebody does that, I feel the need to transfer that praise to someone else. Almost as though I'm scared that, I don't know, something will happen to me simply by saying thank you and acknowledging the praise that has been given to me. And then lastly, there's this fear of being unmasked as a fraud. The fear that, okay, people will one day realize while they're sitting and talking to me that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge. They'll unmask me. And I forget that I've spent over 7 years in the industry that I am. I have 2 professional qualifications that a lot of people want to obtain, yet I still feel like a fraud. Imposter syndrome is very dangerous. It really fosters self-sabotage, really fosters feelings of self-hate and uncertainty. And I pray and I hope that you will see these signs and start working to improving and believing in yourselves. May your day be colorful and wonderful, and I'll see you in the next one.